I was standing at gate 27 with my backpack cutting into my shoulders, watching families hug goodbye and couples argue quietly about seat numbers. The airport smelled like burnt coffee and cheap perfume. My phone was in my hand, screen lighting up my face every few seconds. No new notifications. I checked the time again. 7:40 a.m. My mom had promised she'd be here by 7:15. She'd said it 3 times the night before, even joked, "Relax, I won't forget you." I believed her, because she was my mom. I called her again, straight to voicemail. That made call number 8. I tried my stepdad next. Then my younger brother. Then my mom again. I sent texts, short ones at first, then longer, more desperate ones. "I'm at the airport. Where are you? My boarding starts soon." Nothing. Around me, announcements echoed through the terminal. A flight to Miami was boarding. Another to Dallas was delayed. My flight number flashed on the screen, followed by the words "Final check-in soon." My chest tightened. By the time I made the 12th missed call, my hands were shaking. That's when the first ugly thought crept in. What if they didn't forget? What if they just left? I replayed the last week in my head. The arguments. The awkward silence at dinner. My mom talking non-stop about family time, but never once asking if I was excited about this trip. I walked to the window and looked outside at the planes. Somewhere out there was the vacation they were all going on together. Somewhere out there was a seat meant for me. Or maybe, a seat they were hoping would stay empty. An airport employee asked if I was okay. I nodded automatically, even though my throat felt like it was closing. I didn't cry. Not yet. Instead, I opened my banking app, just to distract myself. That's when I noticed something strange. A pending charge. A hotel deposit. On my card. My stomach dropped. They weren't answering my calls. They weren't coming to get me. And suddenly, it felt like this trip was never meant to include me at all. I stared at the screen, hoping the pending charge would disappear if I blinked hard enough. It didn't. Hotel deposit. Approved. My card. My name. My money. But I was standing alone at the airport. I scrolled further. Another charge appeared. Airport shuttle. Prepaid. My breathing slowed, not because I was calm, but because something inside me had gone cold. They weren't lost. They weren't late. They were already moving forward. Without me. I called my mom again. Voicemail. I typed a longer message this time, my thumbs heavy against the screen. "I'm still at the airport. Boarding starts in 20 minutes. Please call me." I watched the message turn blue. Delivered. No response. Around me, people were lining up, passports in hand, excitement on their faces. A little girl hugged a stuffed bear, bouncing on her toes. A couple argued quietly about window seats. Life was moving. I was stuck. That's when I heard my flight number over the speakers. Final boarding call. My chest tightened. If I missed this flight, I didn't just miss a plane. I missed answers. I walked toward the gate desk, heart pounding, and asked if my family had already checked in. The agent typed for a moment, then looked up at me with a careful expression. "Yes," she said. "They checked in earlier this morning." Earlier? Did they ask about me? I asked. She hesitated. No. That single word hit harder than any argument ever had. I stepped away, my legs weak, and sat down near the window. Outside, a plane taxied slowly across the runway. I imagined them inside, laughing, relaxed, phones on airplane mode. Not once wondering where I was. Not once checking their messages. My phone buzzed. For half a second, my heart jumped. Then I saw the notification. Spending alert. Restaurant charge, approved. I let out a quiet laugh. Not because it was funny, because it finally made sense. They hadn't forgotten me at the airport. They had forgotten about me. I didn't board the plane. I watched other passengers walk past me, scanning their tickets, smiling, annoyed, excited. Living lives that didn't suddenly feel like they were collapsing in slow motion. When the gate agent announced that boarding was complete, something inside me settled. Not panic. Acceptance. I picked up my bag and walked away from the gate, my footsteps echoing louder than they should have. Every step felt like I was leaving something behind. Not the trip, but the version of myself that kept expecting to be chosen. I sat near a charging station and plugged in my phone, even though the battery was still half full. I needed something to do with my hands. That's when the memories started lining up. Every time my mom said, "You're independent, you'll be fine." Every time plans were made and I was informed last. Every time my needs were treated like inconveniences. I had always explained it away. She's stressed. They didn't mean it. I'm overthinking. But sitting there, alone in a crowded airport, the truth felt impossible to ignore. This wasn't an accident. This was a pattern. My phone buzzed again. Another charge. Gift shop. Approved. I closed my eyes. They were buying souvenirs. Before I had even left the airport, I opened our family group chat. The last message was from me, sent that morning. "I'm on my way." No replies. No reactions. I scrolled up and saw old messages, photos from past trips, inside jokes I was barely part of, plans finalized without my input. I wasn't included. I was tolerated. A quiet anger started to build, not loud, not explosive, but steady. The kind that comes when sadness gets tired. I opened my banking app again, this time with intention. I checked linked devices. There they were. My mom's phone. My stepdad's tablet. Both active. Both authorized. My hands stopped shaking. Because now I knew. They didn't just leave me behind. They brought my money with them. I stood up slowly, slung my backpack over my shoulder, and looked one last time at the departure board. My flight was gone. But for the first time that morning, my mind was clear. If they could forget me this easily, I could stop protecting them. I didn't rush. That surprised even me. I expected to feel frantic, like I needed to act now, like everything would fall apart if I didn't. But instead, a strange calm settled in my chest. I walked out of the terminal and sat on a bench outside the airport, the noise of traffic humming in the background. Planes lifted into the sky above me, disappearing into clouds that didn't care who was on board. I opened my banking app again. Not to panic, to observe. More charges were pending. Small ones. Careful ones. They were testing the limits. I realized then how familiar this felt. How many times in the past I'd let small things slide because it wasn't worth a fight. This time, I didn't swipe the notifications away. I documented everything. Screenshots. Times. Amounts. Not out of revenge, but out of clarity. I called the bank. My voice didn't shake. "I think my card is being used without my permission," I said. The representative asked if I wanted to freeze it. I paused. "Not yet. Just lower the daily limit," I said instead. Enough to stop anything big. Enough to send a message, without words. I hung up and waited. 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed. Declined. Transaction not approved. Then another. I imagined them at a counter somewhere, smiling, confident, until the screen flashed red. Still, my phone stayed silent. No calls. No texts. Which told me everything. They noticed the money before they noticed me. I leaned back against the bench and looked at the sky. This wasn't the end. It was the beginning. Because now, I wasn't chasing answers anymore. I was setting boundaries. My phone rang while I was standing in line for a coffee I didn't even want. I stared at the screen. Mom. For a moment, I considered letting it ring. Letting her feel what silence does to a person. But I answered. "Hello." I said. Neutral. Not angry. Not scared. "Where are you?" she asked, breathless. "Why isn't your card working?" There it was. Not "Are you okay?" Not "Did you miss your flight?" Straight to the money. "I was at the airport," I replied. "All morning." A pause. "You should have called," she said, like this was somehow my fault. "I did," I said quietly. 12 times. Another pause, longer this time. "Well, things got hectic," she continued. We thought you'd already checked in. I looked around at the cafe. People laughed. Cups clinked. Life moved easily for everyone else. You didn't text, I said. You didn't call. You checked in without me. She sighed, irritated now. Can we talk about this later? We're trying to pay for the hotel. There it was again. I closed my eyes. You used my card, I said, without asking. Silence. Then her voice softened. Too suddenly. Sweetheart, it's just temporary. We're family. Family. The word felt heavier than it should have. I've blocked large purchases, I said. You'll need to figure it out. Her tone changed instantly. What do you mean figure it out? She snapped. You can't just do that. I can, I said calmly. It's my account. She started talking fast, about reservations, about embarrassment, about how inconvenient this was for them. Not once did she ask how I felt. Not once did she apologize. That's when I realized something important. She wasn't upset that she left me behind. She was upset that she lost access. I'll call you later, I said, and hung up. My hands were steady. My heart was finally catching up. She didn't call back right away. An hour passed. Then two. I went home instead of sitting at the airport any longer. The apartment felt strangely peaceful, like it had been waiting for me to come back and finally breathe. I put my bag down, kicked off my shoes, and sat on the couch without turning on the TV. I didn't need noise. My thoughts were loud enough. When my phone rang again, it was later that evening. Mom. This time, I answered on speaker. Her voice sounded different. Careful. Controlled. We didn't think you'd mind, she said. There was no greeting. No apology. Mind what? I asked. That would go ahead, she replied. You're always busy anyway. You're so independent. I almost laughed. Independent. That word again. So you decided for me, I said. She hesitated. We assumed you'd understand. I pictured her sitting somewhere warm and expensive, drink in hand, phone pressed to her ear. Talking like this was a small misunderstanding. You assumed I'd pay too, I added. Another pause. We were going to tell you, she said quickly. Later. Later. Always later. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees. Did you forget me at the airport? I asked. The line went quiet. No, she said finally. One word. That was all it took. My chest tightened, not with shock, but with confirmation. So you knew, I said softly. Yes, she admitted. But your stepdad said it would be awkward to wait. And we were already running late. I closed my eyes. I could see it clearly now, how easy it had been to leave me behind. How convenient. You didn't even check your phone, I said. We assumed you'd figure it out, she replied. Figure it out. Alone. At an airport. While they used my money. I won't be sending any more, I said. Her voice sharpened. You're overreacting. That sentence had followed me my whole life. But this time, it didn't land. I'm reacting exactly enough, I said, and ended the call. I set my phone face down on the table. For the first time, I wasn't waiting for her to call back.
This visualization highlights
the calls
the
didn't
complex
stop
global
after that.
supply chain of
They
orange
multiplied.
juice, tracking
First
its
my
movement from
stepdad,
major producers.
then my brother, then numbers I didn't recognize. Hotel phones, international lines. I didn't answer. Not because I was afraid, but because I finally understood something important. If I answered now, I'd be pulled back into explaining myself. And I was done explaining. My brother left a voicemail. Mom's really upset, he said. You didn't have to embarrass everyone like this. Embarrass. That word stung, but not the way they expected. I played the message again, then deleted it. Another voicemail came in, this time from my stepdad. His voice was tight, irritated. You've put us in a bad position, he said. This is family. You don't just cut people off. I laughed quietly. Family, to them, meant access. Access to my time. My patience. My money. Not respect. I made dinner that night. Something simple. Pasta. Music playing softly in the background. My phone buzzed on the counter, screen lighting up again and again. I didn't touch it. For once, I chose peace over performance. Later, a text came through from my mom. "I hope you're happy. This vacation is ruined." I stared at the message. Not "I'm sorry." Not "we made a mistake." Just blame. I typed a reply, then erased it. Then typed another. Then erased that too. Finally, I wrote one sentence. I didn't ruin it. I just stopped paying for it. I put my phone down and didn't look at it again. That night, I slept better than I had in months. Because guilt only works when you still believe you're wrong. And I didn't anymore. The next morning, I woke up to silence. No missed calls. No angry messages. Just one email. From my mom. Long, carefully written. Polite in the way that feels more like strategy than sincerity. She wrote about how hurt she was. About how unfair my reaction had been. About how families make sacrifices for each other. She didn't mention the airport. She didn't mention my missed calls. She didn't mention using my card without asking. I read it twice. Then I closed my laptop. I went for a walk. No phone, no music. Just fresh air and the sound of my own footsteps. With every step, the truth became clearer. This wasn't about one trip. It never was. It was about years of being convenient instead of considered. When I got home, I did something I'd never done before. I changed my account permissions. Removed all linked devices. Reset passwords. Set spending alerts. It took 10 minutes. 10 minutes to undo years of quiet access. My phone buzzed almost immediately. "Mom," I answered. "You locked us out," she said. Not a question. "Yes," I replied. Her voice dropped. "You're really doing this?" "I am," I said. "I need space." She scoffed. "So you're punishing us?" "No," I said calmly. "I'm protecting myself." Another pause. Then she said the words she'd never said before. "If you do this, things will change." I smiled sadly. "They already have," I said, and hung up. I didn't feel proud. I felt free. They came back a week later. I didn't pick them up from the airport. No one asked me to. I heard about their return through a mutual friend who mentioned, casually, that the trip hadn't been as relaxing as expected. I believed that. I spent that week doing things I'd put off for years. I cleaned my apartment, caught up on sleep, met a friend for coffee without checking my phone every 5 minutes. No emergencies happened. The world didn't end. My mom sent a few messages. Short ones this time. "We need to talk. You're being distant. This isn't like you." I didn't reply. Because this was like me. Just the version of me that finally listened to herself. When I did see them again, it wasn't dramatic. No yelling. No tears. Just distance. My mom looked tired. Smaller, somehow. She asked how I'd been. I said, "Good." And I meant it. She didn't bring up the airport. Didn't bring up the money. Neither did I. Some truths don't need repeating. They hang in the air, heavy and understood. That night, I realized something important. Closure doesn't always come with apologies. Sometimes it comes with peace. I used to think family meant endurance. That loving someone meant absorbing their mistakes, their carelessness, their silence. I don't think that anymore. Weeks passed. Then months. We spoke occasionally, birthdays, short check-ins, but nothing went back to how it was. And that was okay. Because what we had before wasn't closeness. It was habit. I built a new routine. I traveled later that year, alone. Booked my own flights. Paid for my own hotel. Sat at an airport cafe with a coffee I actually wanted. Watching people arrive and leave. No anxiety. No waiting. Just choice. One afternoon, my mom called. Her voice was softer than I remembered. "I didn't realize how much we relied on you," she said. "Or how much that hurt you." It wasn't a perfect apology, but it was real enough. I needed to stop disappearing for everyone else, I replied. Even you. She didn't argue. That's how I knew things had truly changed. I still love my family, but I love myself too. And this time, I didn't leave myself behind.